Good morning and welcome to the little apartment on the prairie. So I just want to give kind of a couple updates first of all. Yesterday I went shopping to the little grocery store here in my town. I wanted to just kind of make a last shopping trip, pick up some perishable things, produce, dairy products. I got some dog treats. I got Sassy, a cat toy, which wasn't necessary, but I just really wanted it. I was able to get another canister of disinfectant wipes, so I got that because I'm using those to clean my computer keyboard and my phone every day. And then I bought a couple boxed cake mixes and cans of frosting because I have a couple neighbors who are going to be having birthdays in the next couple months. Come here, Isaac. You can come here, buddy. Don't lay over there and whine. And I thought, I wanted to make sure that we could celebrate something. One of the neighbors is a child. He'll be turning 4 in about a month. And I don't know if his mom is, what she's stocking up on. I don't know if she's going to have cake mix and frosting or not. She might. If she does, that's fine. But if she doesn't, I'll have one she can use to make him a birthday cake if she wants, or I'll make a birthday cake. And then I have another neighbor who's an adult who's having a birthday in May. And I just wanted, I thought we're going to want to celebrate. We're going to want to have something, But the store was weird. We were not out of bleach. We weren't out of toilet paper. But, there was not as much dog food as there usually was. There were big gaps in just different sections. They were low on canned vegetables because I picked up a couple cans of veggies. And there was a bunch of dishwashing soap that was missing, and it just didn't look right. It didn't look like somebody had gone in and bought everything like they were stocking up. What it looked like was more like just shipments hadn't come in, deliveries were late. I don't know if they're just late or if they're not coming, and if they're not coming, I don't know why they're not coming, but it didn't look right, and it gave me an eerie feeling. So the World Health Organization has finally declared a pandemic, for stating the obvious. We're starting to see more cases across the U.S. The things, lots of schools are shut down. It depends on where you are, how much life is still normal and how much life is getting strange. It seems like some mathematical models kind of look like we're about 10 days behind where Italy is. So if you look at what Italy is experiencing now, that, 10 days from now, that's likely to be us. And that scares the crap out of me. And I don't understand how so many people aren't scared. I've decided, first I thought maybe they're just stupid, but no, that's really unkind. And I don't think that's true. People I know who I think are intelligent aren't scared. So I don't think it's intelligence. What I think it is a lack of imagination and maybe a lack of empathy. We're going to have food shortages, and there are people in the U.S. who have experienced hunger. There are kids who go hungry, but there are lots of us in the United States who've always had enough to eat. And so maybe it's hard for us to imagine that we would not be able to go to the grocery store, or that you'd go to the grocery store and there would not be enough food. And the kind of situations, we saw pictures from China. Now we're getting reports from Italy of just hospitals overwhelmed, not being able to treat everybody. And Isaac's ready for a treat now. Maybe it's hard to imagine that because we don't live in a country where we've ever seen that. Now, we do live in a country where there are people who can't get health care. We have people in the U.S. who suffer from not getting health care. And we have people in the U.S. who die because they can't afford their insulin because their GoFundMe doesn't raise enough money. So, but there are lots of people in the U.S. who have managed to get medical care when they need it. And so it's hard to imagine. And even those who, haven't gone to the doctor when they've needed it, if you've ever had a toothache and been unable to go to the dentist, and I know lots of people in that situation, or people whose eyeglasses have broken and they've taped them back together with, Scotch tape because they can't afford new glasses, or, so maybe you've done that, but that's not the same as imagining going to the hospital, to the emergency room when you're really ill and them not being able to treat you. That's not the same as imagining lying on the floor in the hallway waiting for someone to die so you can get their bed, I guess. So maybe we lack imagination. I do see a lack of empathy because I keep hearing people say things like, well, I'm not too worried about it because it mostly kills old people and people who are already sick. And, I'm younger than that and I'm pretty healthy. So, no, I'm not worried. And I'm like, have you no empathy? Don't you have parents or grandparents or neighbors or people you go to church with or anybody you care about, you love that's elderly? And by the way, when they say the elderly are more likely to die with this coronavirus, that's people age 60 and over. Now, once you hit 70, your risk goes way up, and once you hit 80, like your chances of survival are really bad. But 60 is not elderly. I mean, when you're talking about 60, like there are teachers at your kid's school, your doctor might be 60. There are nurses in the hospitals that we need to take care of us who are 60. So if you don't care if people over 60 die, that's a lot of people you're writing off. And I don't know if people mean to be so insensitive, but it's pretty cruel, especially when you consider that it also is affecting younger people as well who have underlying health problems. And maybe they're thinking, well, it's only people who are really sick. Like, that's okay, we'll just write off the really sick people. But, coffee. People who are diabetic are at much greater risk of not surviving this illness for some reason. And there are lots of people in their 40s and 50s who are diabetic and who consider themselves healthy. Otherwise, that are active and stuff like that. So, obesity is a problem. If you're morbidly obese, and we have a lot of obese people in this country, smokers seem to be more likely to die. And we've got a lot of smokers who are young and would consider themselves healthy. So first of all, I think people are thinking old and sick means something different than what it means statistically in terms of this illness. But even if it did, even if it only meant, people who are 80 years old and already have, on oxygen because their lungs are bad, are we just ready to write them off? And, I have a friend who she has a seizure disorder and an immune system disorder, and she's got a lot of health problems. And yesterday she went to the doctor. She lives in an area where there have been a lot of cases, and she's got a lot of respiratory symptoms. And so she went to the doctor. They told her she probably didn't have it, but they wouldn't test her for it. There aren't enough tests still, is what doctors are saying. Other people are, the government and stuff is saying that's not true. But if you go to the doctor and your doctor says, I can't test you, there aren't enough tests, and you don't qualify to get tested. It doesn't really matter if the tests are out there. If you're not educating doctors about how to get them, people aren't able to get them. So anyway, they told her she just had bronchitis and sent her home. But whether or not she has that or not, who knows? And then I see other people saying, well, we don't want to test people because if we see how many people are really infected, then the shit is really going to hit the fan. And I'm like, guys, the shit's going to hit the fan whether you test people or not. Because what's going to happen 10 days from now when the hospitals are being overwhelmed with people going to the emergency room in respiratory distress, needing ventilators and crap, it's kind of like saying, well, we don't want to have a baby boom right now, so let's not give these people who look like they're pregnant, let's not give them pregnancy tests because we don't want to have a lot of babies right now. You know what? In 9 months, you're going to have babies whether you ever gave them a pregnancy test or not. So you can say, well, you didn't have a positive pregnancy test, you're probably not in labor, but then a baby's going to come out. So we can tell people, oh, we don't think you're likely to have it. We don't have enough tests. We're not going to test. You know what? That might work temporarily to make us think that we're okay. But 10 days from now, when the hospitals are getting full of really sick people and people are dying, people are going to die whether or not you've ever given them a test. They're going to die whether or not you diagnose them. And, so then you can put down on their death certificate that they died of a respiratory virus, and you don't have to call it COVID-19, but they're going to be just as dead. And I don't know how people don't quite get that, but maybe they don't. I don't know. I mean, our capacity for denial as human beings is really good, is all I can say. So, to me, I feel, I feel really anxious. I feel keyed up. I can't sleep. And I also feel really alone. I'm like here in Nebraska and I'm away from, I mean, it wouldn't help me to be near my family because my family wasn't helpful. That's one of the reasons I moved away from them. But, I feel far away and I still love Nebraska. I love being here. I love my neighbors. I love my life here. But I feel alone at the same time, and I feel far away from, I don't know, I was thinking like far away from the place of my birth, and I don't know why the place of my birth means anything to me. Nothing like, facing our own mortality to make us think of strange things, right? And, many years ago, like when I was in my 20s, I worked for a hospice. I was a home health aide, and we had this training once where they told us to draw a line across the top of a sheet of paper. And then you're supposed to imagine that line represents your entire life from birth to death. And they asked us to put a little mark on the line where we thought we were in our life right now. And so, I'm in my 20s, so my little mark was like not even halfway across the line. And then they told us to put a mark at the end of the line and imagine that we were sitting in a doctor's office and the doctor just told us, we're here, we're at the end of our life. All the stuff we thought was going to be between the first mark we put and the end of our life, there's no time for that, we're at the end. And, that really touched me. It really made an impact on me. It was supposed to help us like see how our patients that we were caring for would feel finding out that they were about to die. I feel kind of like that now, not like I'm about to die, but like the world is about to change and it's never going to be the same again. And there's lots about our world that should change and never be the same again. But, I feel like maybe I thought I was here on my life and I might still be at the spot that I would pick, which of course is further down the line than halfway now because I'm almost 50. But, the things that we thought we might do, I'm buying a cake mix for my neighbor's kid because he's going to turn 4 and his mom was talking about having a birthday party and stuff. And I don't think there's going to be a birthday party or not much of a party in April. You're not going to be inviting a bunch of kids over to your house and, that's not going to happen. I'm not saying there's never going to be birthday parties again, but he's never going to turn 4 again. I mean, there are just things that we thought were going to happen that aren't going to happen. There are people who, are worried about how they're going to graduate from school with all the schools closing. And, just life is going to change in ways that, sometimes it'll go back to how it was and in some ways it won't. And I think people aren't getting it. Like, I don't know. Tell me in the comments if you're getting it. How worried are you? And if you're not worried, why not? And are you using your imagination? Let me know what you're doing to get ready. Let's support each other during this, because when people start quarantining or self-isolating, which they're already recommending, the CDC is recommending, people over 60 just stay home. It's going to be hard to be isolated, so let's really support each other. Give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and stay well. Stay well as you can, friends.